Hello, Yossi Fachler. How you doing?
Rabbi Yoni Golker, what a pleasure to see you on my tiny little phone.
It's wonderful to see you too. Thank you so much for meeting with me. Yossi is an honorary member of St. John's Wood Synagogue, a very dear friend, and somebody who comes to lead our services once a month. He brings a huge amount of joy and spirit when he comes, and I thought it would be a nice opportunity for you to raise our spirits, seeing a familiar face. How are you doing? How's everything going?
Everything is, thank God, wonderful. Our family are well. I was also struck down by the corona, luckily only in my home. Bit of fever and a lot of tiredness, about 2 weeks. Got out of it just before Yom Tov, thank God, in time. The wife and kids have had either mild symptoms or none at all. But right now we're all really well, and I hope everyone is recovering, hopefully, slowly and getting back to normal.
Fantastic. Good to hear. Good to hear. Yossi, people might be interested to know a little bit more about your background. You are renowned within the wider Jewish community for your fantastic outreach and education and bar mitzvah teaching and many other hats that you wear. Perhaps you could just share with us a little bit of an insight into your life. Yossi Fachler in 30 seconds.
Yossi Fachler in 30 seconds. Okay, well, let's do it in about 7 different segments of 30 seconds. That'll give me a bit more time. Yossi Fachler does everything through positivity. Learned that when I was born in Letchworth Garden City. My mother was evacuated there in the Second World War. My father was stationed nearby as an army soldier there, Sergeant Major Kosher, they called him. Are we done for the first 30 seconds? Yeah, I haven't even timed it. Anyway,
keep going.
And they built a family. My mother gave birth 7 times. A family of just openness and positivity. Wherever my parents lived, there was a Kiddush in their house every single Shabbos. So the Kiddush club was unnecessary. Can I mention Kiddush Club to St. John's Wood? Do people even know it exists?
Sure,
anyway,
you bet.
Good. And the entire community, wherever we lived, would come to our house every Shabbos for Kiddush. And that was the original outreach. We're talking about in the 1950s onwards. People from all backgrounds would come and would experience something Jewish with positivity, with food, obviously, which is important, and with humor. My father, renowned for his sense of humor. So all my siblings, who are nearly all in the same business as I, my late brother, Rabbi Mordechai Fachler, for those who knew him, was in the same sort of idea of understanding the psyche.
He was my teacher. He was my teacher in school.
Oh, wow. So it was something that we were inherent to use this gift of this genetic gift of just being approachable and approaching people without fear and making sure that everyone has a happy time and understanding God through positivity. Now, using that, are we on to the second 30 seconds?
Keep going. Keep going.
Using that, if you can sing, then obviously I sing as well, as I hope some people enjoy on the Shabbos. But at the same time, I'm also the chaplain of St. Joseph's Hospice in Hackney, which is the second largest hospice in London. Unfortunately, now we are busy, not through our hospice patients, but we've opened up one ward for any overflow from local Hackney hospitals because of the situation. And the only 2 staff workers that are there the whole time are obviously the doctors and nurses and the chaplaincy, because this job, forget about, doesn't stop now. It's even more important now. We're obviously very careful. We're obviously very careful with hygiene and with PPE. We have our own, of course. But in a regular circumstance, the St. Joseph's Hospice, which is run by the incredible Sisters of Charity, they are a very famous old convent from Ireland. They believe that every patient can be and should be approached by every single chaplain from any persuasion. So there are maybe a handful of Jewish patients there in a year, but I see so many patients. Sundays and Wednesdays are my times there. and at the same time I have surgery for staff members who find it very, very tough going. Understandably, they're living there, they work there much more often than I do, and being of the Jewish understanding of the combination of the neshama, the soul, and the guf, the body, and how sometimes when the guf is ready to leave the world but the neshama isn't, and we understand that, it's so simply easy for me to explain that to someone not from our persuasion and give them an understanding of what end of life can mean. Now obviously this is sounding, you know, me as a positive man who has so many jokes, and I'm just thinking of a few jokes about the shul which I'll tell you later. What am I doing sitting in a surgery doing that? And I tell you again, it's from that word positivity. My teaching in Hasmonean High School.
Yeah, tell us about that. You're very involved with Hasmonean and you're in informal education there, and also in the United Synagogue.
Yes, informal educator in Hasmonean, head of all the informal stuff, out of classroom activities, be it the any outings to different places, bringing in people, the chief rabbis, ministers, government ministers coming in, giving them outside of school time. But also I teach 18 hours a week of actual lessons too, including teaching for GCSEs in RS, and also for Talmudic studies and Torah studies. Because the subject matter is important, but it's the delivery and understanding youngsters and making sure each one, even in a classroom, can be approached individually and give them individual roles to do throughout a year. One can get towards nearly every pupil, even in a classroom, I find.
Well, I can tell you, Yossi, you know, we go back a long way, and I know from personal experience, you know how to enter a room and raise everyone's spirits. In fact, I don't know if you remember, you were actually the entertainer at my 18th birthday party. That's going back to 2001. Does it ring a bell?
Wow, I was retained at 6 years old. I don't remember. Wow, that's incredible.
Well, I've got a little surprise for you. I want to share with you and with our viewers a short clip of you as an entertainer at my 18th party. Watch this.
I was rather large. I must. Oh no.
Doing this solely because Auntie Estella's asked me to, and because I want to, and because we shouldn't just say that we only come to the Golker's house for the food, but it's true. Who are we trying to fool? We can stem our way back nearly 20 years of coming to this house, trying to eat the Golkers out of house and home, but never even succeeding. Although Morris and I once got very close, but then we just remain good friends in the rest. I want to try and connect, if I may, the Yoni's name and this week's Sedra. And there really is no connection at all. But
Does that bring back good memories, Yossi?
Oh, please, look, I was young, I needed the money. I apologize to anyone who's having their breakfast. I mean, that's just wrong.
You are amazing, and your ability for improv is fantastic. Perhaps you could share with us, what's your favorite synagogue joke?
Well, it's interesting you say that, because most weekends, without the lockdown, I'm away at different communities, either St. John's Wood, where I'm just davening, or places like Birmingham or Watford or anywhere else where I'm actually taking the entire service, including davening, but also giving the sermon. And you've got to start, I do, with each one with a gag. And so many have become firm favorites. For example, it's the one where the chazan of the shul is approached by the warden, the president, and says, "I'm afraid, chazan, I'm afraid we're going to have to let you go. Your voice is you don't sing nicely." He says, "Are you kidding? My voice is insured for £1 million." And the president says, "So what do you do with the money?"
Very good, very good. You know, Yossi, you're full of positivity and positive energy, which I think right now people need this. People are going through very difficult times, health-wise, economically, socially, domestically. It's a massive challenge for everyone. And I wondered, you know, as an educator and as a very positive, upbeat person, some suggestions you could share with us, particularly to those who have kids, teenagers watching this. You know, children are influenced by what's going on around them. How can we keep them positive? And how can we make this time count and look back at it with a long-lasting impression of positivity?
It's such a loaded question, and the first thing that comes to my mind is that everyone is experiencing, I don't want to say suffering, everyone is experiencing their own personal coronavirus situation. And one has to understand, or I look at it that way, that what I'm experiencing, if I had an identical twin, my identical twin would not necessarily be experiencing the same thing. So I appreciate that all teenagers, the ones that I'm dealing with, from the ones who are were about to take A-levels, about to literally leave the school, or the ones taking GCSEs, their first major test, and that's been taken away. If you take a classroom of 29 pupils, that's our average number, you'll have 29 different thoughts right there and then of what's going on, before anything about health, or God forbid being struck by the virus, just how their lives have been individually affected by this bolt out of nothing. So the positive approach that I say is that we understand that everyone is experiencing their own individual experience. And that's why people are phoning me, and individually. But if I happen to come across social distancing Hasmonean boys from the sixth form on Shabbos when I was doing my walk, there's a handful of them, all social distancing in Hendon, and I could see they were just yearning for some positivity, for something. And I gave them an improv share. And the truth is, the subject matter was irrelevant. It was just for them to feel that they're back in some sort of framework. Because some teenagers, they might be happy, hooray, I'm home, I'm free. Some of them are yearning for a framework. And all we can say, all we can try and reassure these teenagers is that framework, discipline, something will return. And even that is something to look forward to. And even the ones who were so happy originally to be out of school are realizing they needed that sort of timetable.
Sure. I mean, Judaism is a religion very much of connection, of discipline, of order, and people are missing that connection. And that's why these interviews, all the online stuff that everyone's doing in various communities is to try and replace that to an extent.
I remember what I told them. And this is quite a beautiful message, if I can share to the synagogue of St. John's Wood and anyone else who's tuning in. Because we have so much time on our hands, and if anyone remembers, Rabbi Lord Sachs spoke in our shul, I like to call St. John's Wood our shul, about 2 years ago, and he asked us, do you remember, does anyone know what is the greatest gift God has given to the people of this world? And he asked the audience, and his answer was time. Time is the greatest gift. And at the time, Rabbi Lord Sachs used it for something else about utilizing time, etc., etc. And I've always remembered that, especially now when we all find ourselves with so much time on our hands. And what I've been doing, I've been taking the morning prayer, Shachris, of the weekday morning, and suddenly realizing I don't need to do it in half an hour. And I'm exploring the texts and the order of the morning prayer. And I shared this with these boys, and I want to share this with the community. Right at the beginning of the morning prayer, straight after the blessings of the morning, we read about the sacrifices. And one of the sacrifices is the ketoret, the incense. And the incense is made out of 10 beautiful smelling spices and one very, very nasty smelling spice called the chelbana. And the question is asked, if this is about the beautiful incense, what is the chelbana, the bad smelling spice, doing amongst these beautiful smelling spices? And there are many answers, but the Hasidic master, the Bnei Yisachar, he says something beautiful. He says, you know, we say this first thing in the morning, and maybe the day before, we weren't nice to someone. or we weren't nice to God, or we weren't nice to ourselves, and we wake up in the morning feeling like a chelbana, not part of the nice smelling spices, and we feel, how am I ready to join in? And it says like a reassurance, the morning shachar says, don't worry, a chelbana is also part of the ketoret. Just because you feel like a bad smelling spice, you are part of the smelling spices, the beautiful smelling spices. And maybe the message is this, because the number of beautiful smelling spices, my friends, is 10. And 10 nowadays equals minyan. 10 equals community, davening together. Something which we have taken for granted all our lives. Something which every weekend of my year, bar 4, I am in different communities trying to enhance that minyan. And suddenly we find that we are the chelbana. We are that number 11 outside of that 10 beautiful smelling spices, and we feel out of it. And the reassurance of the B'nai Yissaschar, and this is the reassurance to us, everybody, that even though we feel we are out of the community at this situation, in this time, we are still part of it. We are still part of the 10, still part of the beautiful smelling spices, still part of the beautiful community. Just having to understand that we are maybe right now virtually not it.
That is such a beautiful idea. That is an absolutely beautiful idea. One final thing before we say goodbye. Yossi, we miss your voice. Can you just sing us one song? Your favorite tune from the Shabbat morning service? And we'll end with that.
I certainly can, if that's okay with all of you.
Please.
There are, as you know, I look around, look at the mood. Obviously, if there's a simcha, we'll do something fast. If there's someone's grandmother's birthday, we'll do something slow. But normally it's a bit of both. So I'm just going to, because it's, I'm going to give a ballad. Ballad? Speaking of Ballad's name, a ballad that we sing, that I like to use very often for Na'ar Ritzcha, the Musaf beginning, to the tune of Eshet Chayil, Woman of Valor. And this is dedicated to all the women of valor, all the mothers, the sisters, the daughters, the grandmothers, the great-grandmothers, who some of them find themselves alone and it's testing time, and some of them find them with family and it's even more testing times. So this is to all of them, but to the tune of Na'ar Ritzcha, but this is the Eshet Chayil tune. And please, everybody, sing with, but put yourselves on mute because you know that I can't stand hearing you. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The beauty of St. John's Wood is how you all sing with together, when we all sing with together. So let's go. Na'ar Ritzcha v'nakdishcha k'sod siach sarfei kodesh k'vodo malei olam b'shar esav shoalim zeh lazeh ayeh mekom k'vodo leyumasam baruch yomei
Yossi Fachler, thank you so much. It's been an absolute privilege and pleasure.
Can't wait to be with you very, very soon, St. John's Wood.
Cannot wait.
Miss you loads.
God bless. Bye.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.